All right, Albie, we've got pretty damn big breaking news out there. This is the House Ways and Means Committee has released a document or documents that pertain to the Bidens, and
Right. So this is a transcript of the FBI interviews with the whistleblowers who are saying that Hunter Biden was never investigated properly, essentially.
right, okay. New IRS whistleblower transcripts alleged questions about dad plus big guy blocked recommended felony tax charges. WhatsApp message to Chinese businessman. I'm sitting here with my father. So, so this is so here's one of the messages. Even after the investigative steps were denied, enforcement operations were rejected by DOJ, leading to the election in November 2020. We continued to obtain further leads in the sportsman's case. I don't know what that means. And prepared for, is that maybe a euphemism for Hunter?
I
Or
guess so. Yeah, that
and
sounds
and
plausible.
prepared for when we could go overt. For example, in August 2020, we got the results back from an iCloud search warrant. Unlike the laptop, these came to the investigative team from a third-party record keeper and included a set of messages. The messages included material we clearly needed to follow up on. Nevertheless, prosecutors denied investigators' request to develop a strategy to look into the messages and denied investigators' suggestion to obtain location information to see where the texts were sent from. For example, we obtained a July 30th, 2017 WhatsApp message from Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, where Hunter Biden wrote,
I would say Zhao.
Zhao, where Henry wrote, I am sitting here with my father and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. By the way, I precisely had a caller call me 3 days ago and tell me that this is what happened. They were wondering that the Chinese told them they'd take care of them after Biden did some things over there for
Mm-hmm.
them, and then the Bidens were wondering where their payment was. For example, that's July 30th, 2017. So that's during the Trump administration. That's not during the Biden administration, but apparently the deal was made during the Biden administration when Hunter and Joe flew to China.
Right.
So I'm sitting here with my father. Let us resolve it before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge that you will regret not following my direction. I'm sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Communications like these made it clear we needed to search the guest house at Biden's Delaware residence where Hunter Biden stayed for a long time. This is once again the whistleblower talking. In September 3rd, 2023, then it says in brackets 2020, pros in a September 2023 pros, that's prosecution meeting, I assume. The
Mm-hmm.
assistant United States Attorney Leslie Wolf told us there was more than enough probable cause for the physical search warrant there, but the question was whether the juice was worth the squeeze. She continued that optics were a driving factor in the decision on whether to. Hang on. Hold on. I mean, I have this in the right order. On whether to.
On whether to.
I don't know which slide it is because. Okay, so here's another one. That's all that's
Mm-hmm.
in that one. Primary focus was to protect the integrity of the investigation, which meant to keep it. We can't. We're doing the podcast right now. We'll do it. We'll get it in a bit. You can drink right out of the carton. There's hardly any left. Okay. You can drink right out of the carton. There's hardly any left. Okay. There you go. Yeah, it's nice and it's in the fridge. I put it there. It's on a low shelf. Just drink out of the carton like James does. And Sally does. We're doing the podcast. After your behave, stop banging on stuff. You were bad in the grocery store, and I'm going to be upset. You can go. You can have the cart milk. primary focus was to protect the integrity of the investigation, which meant to keep it concealed from the public.
She's not here.
We began preparing for what we... She's at the softball. We began preparing for what we called our day of action on December 8th, 2020. That included document requests and approximately 12 interviews around the country. The search warrant had been rejected by DOJ, and we included a possibility of a potential consent search of Hunter Biden's residence, which was a Hail Mary. On December 3rd, 2020, we had around a 12-hour-long meeting with the United States Attorney's Office in Delaware with the prosecution team. U.S. Attorney Weiss came in at the beginning of the meeting and jubilantly congratulated the investigative team for keeping the investigation a secret. Quote, Weiss was in and out for the rest of the meeting, but it went downhill from there. We shared with prosecutors our outline to interview Hunter Biden's associate, Rob Walker. Among other things, this is underlined, among other things, we wanted to question Walker about an email that said 10 held by H for the big guy. We had obvious questions like who was H, who the big guy was, and why this percentage was to be held separately with the association hidden. But Assistant Attorney, U.S. Attorney Wolf interjected and said she did not want to ask about the big guy and stated she did not want to ask questions about Dad. It's in quotes. When multiple people in the room spoke up and objected that we had to ask, she responded, "There's no specific criminality in that line of questioning." This upset the FBI too, and as I'll explain in a moment, the IRS and FBI agents conducting this interview tried to skirt Wolf's direction. Hunter Biden was assigned Secret Service protection on or around December 3rd. So we developed a plan for the FBI Los Angeles Special Agent in charge to reach out at 8 a.m. on December 8th to the Secret Service Los Angeles Special Agent in charge and tell them that we would be coming to the residence to seek an interview. And that is all there is that I can see, unless there's more. It. Oh wait, yeah, it is it. What does that do?
It was the input from the board into the headphone thing.
It is because there's. Oh, so the other one's the output. Okay. God, sorry guys. So, let's see.
So that means people on the stream don't hear that either, but because they get it from there also. But anyway, the point is that, and there was more to the. I mean, there was so much in this Ways and Means thing today that they released. I mean, so that basically they had these whistleblowers talking about how essentially the DOJ was completely corrupt, that Merrick Garland wouldn't appoint a special prosecutor for this, that they said they could handle it internally, that they warned Hunter Biden before executing search warrants on a storage unit that allowed him to clear out the space, that they had the laptop in October of 2019, verified it was real in November of 2019, refused to do anything with it or anything else, even though they already had this evidence at that time, and they allowed Biden to go through the election saying that it was a Russian disinformation and it was totally made up and not real. Like, the list goes on and on. So, and if you look at, like, I mean, it's a huge amount of information that was released here. So, but basically, yeah, like the way that the DOJ handled it essentially was that they did nothing about this, right?
freaking incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and some of this is under the Trump administration as well. Obviously, this is the quote unquote Trump DOJ, right? Because 2019, this was Trump, right? And they didn't do anything with this information. He didn't report millions of dollars in income from foreign sources with this stuff, right? Some of this they went back, and that's like what these tax charges were that he pled guilty to, but a bunch of it was like outside the statute of limitations on this stuff. So they didn't do that. After Biden was sworn in as president, Merrick Garland, wouldn't appoint a special prosecutor. He, in public testimony, said that they could do this impartially and all this stuff, and that when these whistleblowers came forward and started to let the DOJ know, they were like moved off of the cases, disciplined for it, essentially. And now, granted, this is the whistleblower testimony, so I'm not 100% clear on if, like, it appears to me that they actually have this. I mean, this is the House Ways and Means Committee says that they apparently that they have this text between Hunter and Henry Zhao, this WhatsApp message, right? And this was uncovered by a warrant, and that's important because when we talk about like the laptop, and I saw somebody emailed you about this the other day as well, that there's like evidence chain of custody issues with the laptop, with like introducing that into evidence, right? But that if this was obtained through a search warrant of Hunter Biden's devices at that time, that doesn't have chain of custody issues. A search warrant is exactly how you're supposed to obtain this stuff. So this is this is real evidence. This is real stuff. So this text message.
Yeah, but they never got in the house, did they? So they did get into
Hunter's house? This is an
house?
August 2020 search warrant that uncovered a text between Hunter and Henry Zhao.
Oh,
so this isn't.
So they got.
This
they
isn't
got
for the
Zhao's.
Delaware guest house.
Okay.
This is a different search warrant. Texts like these made it clear to IRS investigators. This is from Rep. Jason Smith, who's on Ways and Means. He says, made it clear to IRS investigators they needed to conduct a search of Joe Biden's guest house. So they had the first search warrant. That's when they saw this WhatsApp message and this stuff.
Okay.
Right? And that's when they said, we need a search warrant for Joe Biden's guest house where Hunter was staying at this time. And investigators were told that's not going to happen. You're not going to get this. The DOJ also did not allow them to interview Hunter's adult children.
No, he had adult children.
That's what it says.
Maybe it does.
And it will get us into hot water if we interview the president's grandchildren. In 2019, an IRS criminal investigation search warrant. Yeah, if they interview Biden's grandchildren. In 2019, an IRS criminal investigation search warrant led to discovery of Hunter Biden's laptop. FBI verified authenticity. IRS investigators never got full access, despite believing it might contain relevant information. That's where, like, the 10 help for the big guy thing is. The IRS, after the interviews...
You know what else? That must be how Giuliani got the laptops, too.
Like a leak from the FBI people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that maybe. I don't know. So after the interviews, investigators learned of a storage unit controlled by Hunter and debated getting a search warrant for the unit. The DOJ divulged these sensitive details to Hunter's lawyers.
Jesus.
And allowed him time to destroy, manipulate, or conceal evidence.
Jesus.
Once the whistleblowers came forward, they were retaliated against. They and their entire team were removed from the investigation at the request of the DOJ. And as a result,
These are guys who were recently in the news?
Yeah, so this was the whistleblowers that I think it's the same whistleblowers saying about the other stuff, about the Ukraine stuff, who in their testimony to the FBI also said that there were these calls with the foreign nationals saying that, talking to Biden directly, right? Recordings. So basically, like, they have the entire thing of the testimony available at waysandmeans.house.gov. It's huge. There's so much there. I mean, and it's so damning that towards the DOJ mainly, right? Like, but it's also, I mean, I would tend to think that this, like, I mean, I just like don't see politically how you explain that away in a presidential campaign, that WhatsApp message, right? That you have Joe Biden sitting in the room after telling all of us that he had no involvement whatsoever in Hunter's business dealings overseas or any of that, that it had nothing to do with him. He knew nothing about it. He was never involved in any way, shape, or form. To have that WhatsApp message from Hunter is, I mean, like, how do you explain that away, even just for a political campaign? Like, forget if the DOJ is going to do anything about actually prosecuting it, because at this point there's been like so much opportunity to lose all this evidence and for Hunter and the Bidens to like cover up so much that, like, I don't know how much you can do like legally going after them anymore at this point, right? Because the
So freaking
DOJ like
dirty.
let them walk, right? But like, first of all, you can clean up the DOJ if you get a real president in there, right? And second of all, like, politically, how damaging is this to Biden, right? Like, it's incredibly problematic to have the house, like, and I don't have any sense right now, because maybe I'm too much in my conservative bubble, right? But like, I'm seeing people tweeting this stuff with this WhatsApp message saying this is really, really bad, who are like, pretty mainstream people, right? Pretty like middle of the road, normal. This isn't like some wacky far right or like MAGA conspiracy theory or something, right? This isn't QAnon here, and it's not even to the level of the like Hunter Biden laptop stuff, where at that time it was like, the it was Twitter and Facebook and everybody was censoring it, and there was this push by the news to say it was Russian disinformation and this whole thing. Like, I don't even know. Have you seen anything from people on the left or from the Biden team or anything trying to explain this away or proffer some kind of
No,
explanation for
Catherine
this?
Herridge's thread shows that she.
And she's very mainstream.
Well, right. No comment. Weiss spokesman DOJ. DOJ said U.S. Attorney Weiss has a full authority over this matter, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges as he deems appropriate. White House said President Biden has made clear this matter would be handled independently by the Justice Department under the leadership of U.S. Attorney appointed by former President Trump, free from any political interference. Comment requested Hunter Biden legal team via CBS News. Holy goodness! This is the. Is this not the biggest thing we've ever seen?
Yeah, so I don't understand like why there's no comment on it. I don't understand like what normal places are reporting on this right now, because it really seems like astonishingly damaging for Biden right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and how much of this is the levee breaking because of poll numbers?
Right. Well, I mean that too. But yeah, like, I just don't understand how like this gets explained away. Even if Biden says like, "Oh, nothing serious was prosecuted. It's fine." Like, you can say like nobody's been charged with anything here, but like, doesn't it look incredibly politically damaging
Yes. Nothing
to
on
like an
CNN
average
breaking
voter?
news.
And
Nothing on
that's what
CNN
I'm
breaking
saying.
news.
Like, I don't understand how come nobody's like saying anything here, because it seems to me that this is like a serious problem.
Freaking CNN. The top three things on their Twitter feed are Harrison Ford on Indiana Jones.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Buffalo
Important.
Zoo in New York has 4 new lion cubs. And watch an exclusive interview with President Barack Obama. And then Kelly Clarkson and George Santos. Of course, they got him. Juul, the e-cigarette. Red Rocks. People are injured at Red Rocks. And, I mean...
Okay, wait. Here's a CNN story. Published 5:34 p.m. Okay, so they have whistleblowers say IRS recommended far more charges, including felonies against Hunter Biden. 2 whistleblowers told Congress they were recommending more. They poured through the transcripts, according to CNN, that says they poured through all these transcripts. So that they had an 11 count recommended in charges. And that they reached this plea deal. Alleged roadblocks inside the DOJ. The Justice Department probe was opened in November 2018 and was codenamed Sportsman. So there you go.
There we go. Yeah.
So Shapley said that told the committee that U.S. attorneys in both districts wouldn't seek an indictment. A second whistleblower testified to the committee but hasn't been publicly identified. Also told lawmakers this is what happened. Says they were told no when he tried to get the cooperation of U.S. attorneys in D.C. and Los Angeles. So, I mean, CNN does apparently have a story on it, but it's, they also allege that in key junctures, investigators were thwarted in their efforts because prosecutors were concerned about interfering in the 2020 presidential election. In 2020, IRS investigators sought to conduct search warrants and take overt steps, but according to Shapley, several weeks before the election, a Justice Department prosecutor questioned the optics of searching Hunter Biden's residence and Joe Biden's guest house. Hunter Biden invoked dad's name to get paid, text shows. Shapley, the IRS supervisor turned whistleblower, told House lawmakers that Justice Department prosecutors denied requests to look into messages allegedly from Hunter Biden, where he used his father as leverage to pressure a Chinese company into paying him. According to a document Shapley gave to Congress, which quotes from texts that are allegedly from Hunter Biden to the CEO of a Chinese fund management company. This is CNN. So, like, the second unnamed IRS whistleblower.
What does WAPO have?
Let's see. So they are.
On September 4th, 2020, Deputy Attorney General Donahue issued a cease and desist over all overt investigative activities due to the coming election. The Assistant U.S. Attorney Wolf made several odd statements to include...
I can't find anything on WAPO.
The Assistant Wolf made several odd statements to include that DOJ was under fire and it was self-inflicted. She stated that the DOJ needed to repair their reputation. At the prosecutors' meeting on September 21st, 2020, the FBI tried to dictate that we only do 5 of the planned interviews so FBI management could reevaluate if they wanted to continue assisting. Special Agent Redacted told them it seems inappropriate for them to dictate in an IRS investigation who should be interviewed. Later that day, I learned the FBI case agent in Delaware had only recently moved back to his hometown of Wilmington with his wife and family and was concerned about the consequences for him and his family if they conducted these sensitive interviews and executed a search warrant of the President Biden's guest house.
Yeah. So
holy, Chuck Grassley does not disappoint.
I know. It seems pretty incredible. Yeah, I can't find anything Washington Post about Hunter Biden right now. I see stories from the last few days. The complicated relationship between President Biden and his son Hunter. I see him reach his deal, the plea deal, the charges in Hunter Biden's plea deal, etc. So, it seems to me that this is like mainstream enough and being reported enough in enough mainstream places, despite their best efforts not to, that like I don't see how Biden, plays this politically, right? Like, is this the move to get Newsom into the race here?
I don't see. I don't know. Is the committee member?
Whistleblowers claim the Biden Department of Justice is intervening and overstepping when it comes to the investigation of the president's son. Despite what whistleblowers described as a clear-cut case for tax liability on these payments, IRS investigators say they found themselves hamstrung internally. The testimony we have just released details a lack of U.S. attorney independence, recurring unjustified delays, unusual actions outside the normal course of any investigation, a lack of transparency across the investigation and prosecution teams, and bullying and threats from the defense counsel. This was a campaign of delay, divulge, and deny. Whistleblowers say reoccurring unjustified delays pervaded the investigation, including an authenticating a WhatsApp message in which Hunter Biden demands payment from Chinese officials, noting that his father is in the room. The whistleblowers revealed IRS investigators were told by U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf that because the evidence would be found in the guest house of former Vice President Biden, quote, there is no way, close quotes, a search warrant for evidence would ever get approved. IRS whistleblowers told this committee that crucial information about the investigation was divulged to Hunter Biden's attorneys. For example, even an investigators had probable cause to search a Northern Virginia storage unit in which Hunter Biden had stored files. Attorneys for Biden were made aware prior to any search, providing them valuable time to remove any materials that could be useful evidence. Few Americans qualify for such soft glove treatment from federal investigators. Testimony shows that U.S. Attorney of Delaware David Weiss tried to bring charges in the District of Columbia around March of 2022 and was denied. Weiss sought special counsel status from the DOJ in the spring of 2022 and was once again denied. Weiss sought to bring charges in the Central District of California in the fall of 2022 and had that request denied in January of 2023.
Well, amongst the people who need to be in trouble are Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, a whole bleep load of people
Merrick
from the
Garland,
DOJ,
certainly.
Hunter's lawyers. Yeah, certainly Merrick Garland.
Who, by the way, props to Trump, because if it weren't for Trump, Merrick Garland would be on the Supreme Court today.
Well, where is he more dangerous?
I think he's dangerous anywhere. Because remember how they were assuring us that he was practically an arch conservative, that this was Biden's pick that might as well be a Republican because he was so moderate and great, and that he was not in the tank at all. He's the absolute worst, most activist guy that I've ever seen. Right? He's terrible. He's like one of the worst people in Biden's entire administration.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a hive of dirt bags now. I don't even know. Incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, top to bottom, this is like
Here's Joe
really,
Biden,
really terrible.
From the RNC research people.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses.
President Biden met with at least 14 of Hunter's business associates while he was vice president.
Then Vice President Joe Biden had dinner with his son Hunter, along with Hunter's business associates from Ukraine, Russia, and Kazakhstan. And the day after the dinner, a Burisma executive sent a note to Hunter, quoting, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to D.C. and giving an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together."
Hunter's lucrative business dealings often included giving as much as 50% of his earnings to his dad.
The text read, quote, "I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary."
His son, Hunter, joining the then vice president on the official visit to Beijing. Unknown to the press back then, Hunter Biden was forming a Chinese private equity fund, planning to raise money, including from Chinese investors. 10 days after the Biden's trip, Shanghai authorities issued the fund's business license.
And Hunter introduced me as this is Tony, Dad, the individual I told you about that's helping us with the business that we're working on and the Chinese.
The email reads this way, quote, "At the moment, there's a provisional agreement that the equity will be distributed as follows. 10 held by Hunter for the big guy.
I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times.
A newly revealed text message shows Bobulinski was apparently warned by business partner James Gillier, don't mention Joe being involved.
It's buffering. Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face-to-face. I know you know that, but they are paranoid. So maybe it won't continue. I mean, so this is the situation here is something's got to give.
Yeah.
There needs to be. You're gonna have, if you think January 6th was bad, people are gonna lose their bleep.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how people because Biden's presumably going to come out here and say there's no there. None of this is real. It's an illusion. Like, how are people like Daniel Dale going to go fact check that?
Yeah, well,
I mean, I just don't understand
but you heard,
how
yesterday, Adam Schiff said it's a badge of honor that they censored him, and he's obviously a lying, destructive, psychopathic dirtbag,
right?
As well, but he was just willing to do it. So they're willing to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter. They are fully the bad guys, corrupt, and there's no conscience at play. I mean, there is here and there the whistleblowers.
Oh yeah.
But this guy, what we thought about Biden, what Tucker's been saying about Biden now for 3.5 years, was spot on and right. And all the left laughed at names like Bobulinski.
Right.
They're GD dirty.
Right. I mean, if you're the media, if you're somebody at CNN or MSNBC or even somebody who works at Twitter, aren't you upset that the entire government lied to you about the Hunter Biden laptop stuff? Had you censored this, made you look like fools? I mean, you heard a little bit of it with Zuckerberg. Another one that just the evidence just keeps pouring in is this Chinese lab leak theory, right? Is this stuff just the evidence that I mean, we know the names of the first people who got COVID now, and they were working on exactly this in that lab.
Yeah, there's got to be a reckoning for all this stuff.
I mean, you heard a little bit of that from Zuckerberg when he was saying part of the problem is it hurt our credibility because we censored stuff based on what these experts were telling us, and some of it turned out to be wrong, which clearly that's a very, favorable reading, but yeah, if you're people working at Twitter, if you're people working at Facebook, if you're people working at CNN or MSNBC or any of these places, that, if you're people working at NPR, who, I mean, maybe the people at MSNBC are just political activists and, they don't care as long as it helped their side win, they just don't. But, aren't there honest, misguided, but, generally trying to be decent people working at places like NPR who credulously aired these stories saying that this laptop was Russian disinformation, and all the intel officials told us that this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, and they put that out there as fact. They fact check stuff saying that this laptop wasn't credible when the FBI is sitting here having known that it's 100% true for a year. Doesn't it bother you? And I mean, I think we know people like that, people who work in media, right? Who, they're very left from us, a lot of them. But a lot of them are trying to be decent people and report facts, even if they're out of their minds and Trump makes them insane. But
well, here's the problem with those people, Alice. What are they going to do now? How are they going to act out on social media when their guy is officially, provably responsible for everything that they were accusing the other guy?
I know, but what does Jake, I don't have liars on my show, Tapper, do now?
He should freaking resign and go into a monastery.
I know, but what do they do? How do they face the public on TV and not and still try and report on the Biden administration in a serious way when they can see that they've been blatantly, embarrassingly lied to, and that everything, all the people they were casting as liars and crazy, everything that they said was true? Does it not bother them? I don't understand how you're how if you're Jake Tapper, you get out of bed the next day and do a news show where you take like Merrick Garland or Anthony Blinken or Karine Jean-Pierre or anybody seriously.
It's freaking amazing. Depending on what happens, we may have to do an extra show. But you got to get our daughter, so we should do the chat.
Yeah, let's jump to the chat. What do we got? This is brought to us, of course, by Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce on the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hotline.
You know what I love? Is Danny from Billerica for the personality test, Alice, is complete. He's got his coded BB space DB1.
Can we get a wellness check on Justin the Hoosier? It's been a while.
Oh my god, it has been a while.
He's all right. Could always count on him for consistency.
That is true.
He'd
That
leave
is
a message
true.
when no one else would.
You're right.
I think he probably kept Alice's wrath down a few times.
Wrath, yes.
Yes, probably.
Justin, we need a wellness check. We need to know you're okay.
That is true.
Maybe we'll send him a message.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't stiff him on anything, right? We actually sent him hot sauce.
That's true. We did. He is on the Patreon. I mean, not like in the live stream, but he is a Patreon patron. So,
Dr. Chesman.
Hi, folks.
Hey.
I just wanted to respond to the All You Can Eat podcast.
Should I save this for that?
Yes, let's save that for the All You Can Eat
Okay.
podcast.
So I'm going to mark. Unselect. I don't know how to mark it. I don't know what to do.
There's a little thing that looks like a piece of paper with a pin in it. You can enter a note right there. And you can star it with the star.
All you can eat. Save note.
Mm-hmm.
And star it. I'm going to star it with the star. Thank you, Alice. That's so nice.
Now you can find it again. There you
go. Yes. Okay.
Hey, Tom. Last night on the pod, just want to clarify something for you. I'm looking in the AP style book.
Yes.
You had mentioned that one of the speakers on Capitol Hill, I think it was a senator, and you had said the man's voice is the senator. I just want to point out that's actually now defined as the human person that is cis-normative, male identifying with male genitalia with a male penis that goes by he, him, and refers to him as a man. That's how it should be said. Just letting you know.
Tim, it's only a matter of time.
That's just as easy, I think.
I was there when a style guide suddenly changed all sorts of stuff, and we had to capitalize black from when you were.
But not white.
Right, but not white. No, certainly. No. Make white a little smaller, says the style.
Just curious. Did you guys end up going to the library, or was the 546th time the kids were told to get out of the studio? Was that the time that broke the camel's back? I'm not making fun of you. Trust me. Been there, done that. I once was so mad at my daughter for not picking stuff up. Took her scooter while she was in her room, in punishment, by the way. Took her scooter, threw it in the trash, went up to her room, said, go ahead, look out that window, see where your scooter's going. Son of a gun, if she didn't call me out on it and say, Dad, there's no way you'd throw that away. I know that you bought it. You'd never waste the money.
It was worth
She got me. Still doing it 20 years later.
It's worth it. So now Tim does not go by the proper naming convention because one says Tim and Canton, that grade inflation. In that, we haven't gotten to that one yet. The other two say anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Steve
not a good...
and Merrimack usually does anonymous. Too.
Yes,
does
he does.
Not? Yeah, he refuses to do your naming convention.
No. Only Danny from Billerica does the naming convention.
In reference to last night's pod, Alice, when you mention massive grade inflation and state it so emphatically, makes me wonder, is that actually just a metaphor for something quasi-sexual? Like, as an example, John Locke has massive grade inflation. Just curious. Someone's got to ask these questions, but they do deserve an answer.
I don't think that it's a metaphor for anything. If it is, it's subconscious.
Wait a second.
It's subconsciously done, Tim, because it wasn't
looked up with John Locke?
No.
Are you sure? Because you're very defensive against him. And he seems to be a lot of animus towards me. Yeah, no means yes in this. Thank you, Tim, for flushing her out like a whistleblowers on the Biden's case.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We will see you Sunday if there are no important new developments with Hunter Biden that cause us to have to do an emergency show. Thank you for your patience as we sort through all the breaking news around this right now also. And we appreciate you guys listening, as always. If you want to join us for the shows live, you can do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you prefer to listen for free, obviously burnbarrelpodcast.com, YouTube, Rumble, etc.